Hi, boys and girls. Welcome to lesson 4 of percentage. I wish I could say that this is the last lesson about percentages that you'll need to know, but that would not be true. But we'll be able to do it all together. So let's get on with lesson 4. I wanted to show you a chart. It's in your book. You see this chart? Alrighty. So when we're trying to figure out percentages, and in the past, when we've been trying to figure out fractions, often we will draw boxes. Well, when you are doing a problem with percentages and you think you want to draw boxes, you can. You draw 10 boxes and let each box stand for 10%. So then you have 10 tens is 100%. So here you see we have 10%, and then here we have, so you have the chart up here, and then we have the 10 boxes, and one's filled in, that's 10%. We have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50% here, and what is this, 80%. And then this one, we can just count from this side, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70%, 10, 20, 30, 40%. You can see that. That's sometimes an easier way to figure out what you're trying to find than doing method 1 or method 2. Sometimes it's simpler just to draw boxes. So I thought I would show you that today. All right, let's look at some problems on the board up here, because now you're going to have some word problems in exercise 20 in your workbook. So I want you to be prepared for those. So here we have 3/4 of the pies which Mrs. Goodman made were apple pies. 3/4. So they want to know what percentage of the pies were apple and what percentage of the pies were not apple. So 3/4 is one that you're going to have quite a bit, and pretty soon you'll just know that one by heart. But let's go ahead and we'll do this up here. We'll do 3/4, and you can do this method 1. We put a 100 down here. We say 4 times what is 100? We say times 25. We multiply the 3 times 25 and we would get 75. So that's 75%. Or we could use method 2. We could say 3/4 times 100 over 1, and then I would reduce here. I'd say 4 goes into 4 once, 4 goes into 125, and 3 times 25 is 75%. So if 75% of the pies that were made were apple, what percentage were not apple? And we talked about that, so we're just going to say 100% minus 75%. So 100% minus 75% is going to give you 25%. So 75% were apple, 25% were not apple. All right, let's look at this next problem. I want you to look at the wording here. It says 7 out of 25 children. When you see that wording out of, it's basically, this is your whole number, your denominator, all the parts, and these are the parts we're talking about. So this is denominator, numerator, and you would write it like so. 7 out of 25. Did you see that? 7 out of 25. So 7 out of 25 children are boys. They want to know what percentage are boys and what percentage are girls. This is similar to this one we just did. So we can use method 1 or method 2. This one's easy with method 2 because I know 25 will go into 100 4 times, and then all I have to know is 7 times 4 is 28. And down here, 1 times 1 would be 1. So, 1 into any number is itself. So I really don't need to put that, but I could. So 28% are boys. So if 28% are boys, what percent are girls? Now we just have to do our subtracting. 100 minus 28. So I cannot borrow 8 from 0. This 10 is going to become a 9. To make that a 10, 10 from minus 8 is 2. And 9 minus 2 is 7. So 72% are girls and 28% are boys. Did you see how that worked? All right, I'm going to, we're going to do another problem. And I'm going to have to write that one up here on the board, so hold on a second. Ta-da! So here's our problem. Sam had $750. He spent $300 and saved the rest. What percentage of the money did he save? So we want to know what percentage he saved. There are two ways you can do this problem. You can find out what percent he spent and then subtract that from 750, or you can do the subtracting first. So let's do it both ways. So we have, he spent 300 out of 750. So we want to know that percentage. There we go. It looks like my 100 has eyes on it. I'll just put some. There we go. My 100 has eyes on it. It's yeah, a little because it's been a long day. Okay, I can cross these zeros out, and then I can say 75 and 100. They have a common denominator. 25 will go into both of them. 25, 50, 75 will go into 75 3 times, and 25 will go into 100 4 times. Now I could do 30 times 4 and get 120. 3 times 1 is 3, and I could divide it. That's one way to do it. Or I could say 3 into 30 goes 10, and 10 times 4 is 40, because 3 into 120 is 40. Hopefully you got some of that. So 40% is how much he spent. So if he spent 40%, then of course he saved 60%, right? He saved 60%. Another way you could have done that is you could have said 750 minus 300 is 450. You could have said he spent 300 and he saved 450. And what percent is that? You could have said 450 over 750 times 100. And yes, you're going to end up getting you're going to end up getting 60%. I know that 3 into 45 goes 15 times. Or I could have done 45 times 4 and divided by 3. But 15 times 4, 15 and 15 is 30. And 15 and 15 is 30. And 30 and 30 is 60. So 60% is what was saved. 60%. So hopefully you were able to follow all of that, because you are going to have a couple problems that are similar to that. The last thing I want to do today is give you some fractions that you should memorize their percentages. So I'm going to show you that really quickly. So the fractions that you should kind of automatically know their percentages, the ones that as you grow older, let's say you're going to the store and they're having a sale and everything's 25% off. Well, you need to know that I can write 25% as 0.25. I can multiply that by the amount, that's on the tag. And so yes, you're going to need percentages and fractions. You're going to need this as you get older. Sometimes in my Algebra 2 classes, my students will say, when am I going to use this in real life? And sometimes I have to go, well, unless you're a surveyor or I'm telling you, you are going to need to know fractions and you're going to need to know percentages in your grown-up life. So you should take the time now to learn them. So here we go. So 1/4, right? 4 goes into 100 25 times. This is 25%. And that might not look like 25 to you. That's what that is. So this is 1/4, 2/4, and 3/4. See, 2/4 simplified because 2 will go into 2 and 2 will go into 4 1/2 times. So we know that 2 goes into 100 50 times. So this is 50%. This 4 goes into 100. 25 times 3, that's 75%. So those are I call them the denominator 4 fractions that you need to know, 25, 50, and 75%, which is 1/4, 1/2, and 3/4. Then the fifths, the denominator that has the fifths. So it's kind of there we go. We know that 5 goes into 100 20 times. So this is 20%. And then 20 times 2 would be 40%. And 20 times 3 would be 60%. And 20 times 4 would be 80%. 20, 40, 60, 80. Those are your denominator 5 fractions and the percentages that they equal. So these are the most common fractions and percentages that you'll see. And then, of course, we have the 10 denominator fractions, and those are really easy to know because 10 goes into 100 10 times. So this is 10%. 10 times 2 is 20%, and 3/10 would be 30%, and 40%, and 50%, 6/10, 60%, 70%, 80%, and 90%. So I'm just letting you know that those are the fractions that lead to percentages that are most widely used and that you can pretty easily memorize so that you don't have to do method 1 or method 2 when you see them. You just automatically know what they are. And that helps you. You kind of like your multiplication tables. You know, when you memorize those, then that long division or that 3 by 3 digit multiplication is so much easier than when you don't know those and you have to sit there going 4, 8, 12, 16. Yeah, much easier if you memorize. That's why God gave you that beautiful mind. Memorize something. All right, so I hope that you learned a lot today, this lesson. See you next time. Bye.